Hello.
Hello.
We are
Starting a cult
a
today.
cult. We are back with
yeah.
a brand
Oh, yeah.
new episode. It is Friday evening, September 17th of the year 2021. How about
Yeah,
that?
good lord. What about time? How about that?
The Earth is officially 2022 years old today. I don't know if you guys know that, but it's true.
That doesn't even make sense if we're thinking about... Wait, what?
Yeah.
What?
According to
The what?
the Bible,
Oh, which... Where?
it's actually the misprinted Bible, but it's the real one. It's the Book of Grant.
Ah, okay.
But we'll get into that
Alright,
at a different day.
Well, yeah, we are starting a cult. That's Grant. I'm Jake.
That
And
is true.
we're talking about some stuff today, as you can tell.
That is true. We typically do talk about a lot of different things.
Stuff,
and
things, all these things.
we realized that it had been quite a bit of time since we've gotten into a good old haunting. We did do the Conjuring 3. We kind of discussed that a little bit, the differences of the movie in real life. So I don't really count that. That was...
No, it doesn't count. Basically the last, like, ghostly paranormal thing we did was, like, Black Monk Pontefract.
Yeah.
And that was entirely too long ago.
That really was.
Way too long ago.
We got a fun... I mean, well, unless... Pretty much for everybody that's not in that family, it was fun. But we have a fun little quick bite of a little haunting for you. And something that we kind of stumbled upon while doing hauntings. Hauntings are very, very personal, okay? They're very honest, I guess you could say, if you tend to believe it.
Yeah.
They're really just the story of individuals that deal with the paranormal, for lack of a better term. But these real, like, high-profile, popular cases that you hear about now, most of them are dealing with the Warrens.
Yeah.
That's just the simple truth of the matter.
Guess what? So is this one.
It is. And I don't want you to think that we'll be sticking with, Warren cases only, but it's hard not to, especially when there's so much information about them and the case themselves nowadays.
They were everywhere back in the day.
It's easy to kind of jump on that train and read the story for ourselves, examine it, and then kind of discuss it with different things that we personally believe and things that we've learned over the course of doing the show.
Yeah.
So I would say, without further ado, let's get into the haunting of the Smurl family.
Smurl family haunting.
Yes, and I know this is big news, but we're doing a Warren episode, and for once, I will actually keep my opinions about the Warrens to myself until it's over.
Bullshit.
I mean, I'll tell you, but
Bullshit entirely.
I'll let the mode play out
the
here.
freak flag fly, Grant.
It'll come.
I hope this fan doesn't get picked up, but it feels amazing.
Yeah, it's nice. If you guys feel nice, if you hear a nice breeze, just know that it feels even better on us.
Picture yourself in a nice shady meadow.
Yeah. That's where we are.
Listening to this story about the Smurl family, okay?
Smurl. It's like Earl with an S and an M. Smurl.
Yeah.
Smurl.
So, let's just get in right at the beginning. The Smurl family, after being forced from their Wilkes-Barre home in Pennsylvania due to a devastating flood, moved into a duplex home on Chase Street of West Pittston, Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Pennsylvania, the Hershey capital, right? There's a Hershey capital there?
Yeah, Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Amazing.
I do want to say I actually didn't. I mean, I'm not really a natural disaster person or a geography person. But
we don't know much.
I didn't realize that they could be affected by hurricanes because that's exactly why they moved. St. Agnes or Hurricane Agnes,
Yeah.
That was the storm that pushed them out of their home because of extensive flooding. Now, what I do know and what I can gather just based off of personal history with storms, I don't think that it was actually like the hurricane. I'm sure it was like a byproduct.
There's residual hurricane.
Yeah.
Rolling on through your town.
But still, it is weird that, a place like Pennsylvania can be that much, or it could be affected that much by a hurricane. You wouldn't really think that.
Oh, it's crazy. Dude, it's just like, what was that boy? It was Ed Gein's dad. He started out losing his entire family to a flood.
Yeah.
How about that? Natural disasters happen everywhere, even Wisconsin.
We're wrapping it around.
Yeah.
Everything connects. It's all the same.
It is. Everything's the same, including families, just like this one, which consisted of the Smurl family, that is. Jack, who was a Navy man who served in World War II.
Shout out to David.
Yeah, Navy people.
That's our buddy who's in the Navy.
There we go.
He's not part of this story in particular, but, we love him.
He's in the same, military outfit or whatever the fuck you call it.
Oh, yeah, we love him to death.
He's a good guy. Okay, so that was Jack. He's a Navy guy, World War II. His wife, her name was Janet. She was a stay-at-home mother. Both Jack and Janet Smurl, right? And their 4 daughters, Dawn, Heather, and the twins, Sharon and Karen. Isn't that cute?
Yeah, that's an interesting family name,
Yeah,
Smurl, Jack and Jill. No, it's not Jill, but Jack and Janet.
Yeah, no, it still makes sense.
It's practically the same thing, but it is... We have all the building blocks here of a very good haunting story.
No, it's true. And we also got in-laws. We have Jack's parents, who were... What are their names? What are their names, Grant? It's frickin' John and Mary. John and Mary birthed Jack, and then Jack had this family. They're all living together in this duplex.
Yeah, I remember when I was reading about this duplex, it was it kind of blew my mind. So the in-laws lived, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, they lived in one half, yeah.
They lived on the right side of the duplex, and the rest of the Smurl family lived on the left side of the duplex. And there was really there's no bad blood. Like everybody was happy with
No, they were all stoked to be living together. They were all very close, apparently.
And that, to me, that's different. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I love my family, but I can't imagine, like, my immediate family living with somebody else in, like, the extended family all in one very tight location. I don't know how that would work. It'd be there would be a lot of issues that would arise, I would imagine.
Maybe you guys would be haunted.
Maybe.
I don't
Possibly.
know. Well, are you a devout Catholic? Because they were. This entire family was very devoutly Catholic.
I mean, I was at one point in my life, about 17 years ago. But that, that's neither here nor there.
That's all you need. That's all you need. Well, so now this haunting supposedly took place over a span of about 13 years. Okay?
That's a big one.
Yeah, 1974 to 1987. Pretty crazy. So the haunting started out slow in comparison to what it would become, but it began almost immediately after the family moved in. And by that, like with the span of time that we're talking about, by immediately I mean around like 18 months.
Yeah.
That's when it started. It was pretty much fine, like at first.
Yeah, there was a bit of a grace period where it was just kind of the adjustment to a new living situation, a new place.
Yeah.
And then it started very similar to Paranormal Activity, the movie, where it just kind of came on very gradually, and then it increased as it went on.
Yeah. So shortly after the family moved in 1974, they began doing like renovations, sort of a fixer-upper of a house, this thing. The place needed like a coat of paint, a few repairs, Well, during this time, the Smurls reported that the first paranormal instance that they encountered was their television set simply bursting into flames out of nowhere.
Okay,
so
this is one episode where I desperately wish that Mitch was sitting here because he's the electric guy. He knows these things.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I would 1,000,000,000% be very freaked out and anxious about that. But I feel like that might be something that could possibly happen.
It could happen, especially with like old tube TVs,
Yeah.
Like tubes get real hot. I have like tube amplifiers for like my guitar, and they get hot as fuck.
The boom tube, dude. The olden days.
I've had amps start to smoke. They could probably catch on fire.
I'm not trying to discredit that because that would be very frightening.
No, I don't. You don't want anything to catch fire in your house, theoretically, except fireplace, maybe.
Yeah, even that you don't want that
possibly
to catch
a stove
fire.
top. Yeah, who knows?
You'd like that to be a very
nice
controlled
candle
burn that you started.
Yeah, candle in a masseuse room. You have a masseuse room in this house?
That's fucking
Is that
tight.
this room?
That is so tight.
No.
In this house?
Yeah, in this one. They don't have one in here. I'm just thinking of masseuse rooms.
I mean, I guess that really the only thing in here is like my work clothes and a desk with all my shit on it and this computer. That's about it.
No, you're right. We got the 2 luggage things that our mics are hooked up to.
That is true. Those aren't even
lamps.
mine. Those are just here.
Yeah.
That's fine though.
Well.
It's all going.
In any case, yeah, so the fucking TV just burst into flames. That's not good. So not only that, but a huge stain appeared on the carpet. Pain in the ass. All right, you got a stain just appearing everywhere on the carpet.
That's reminiscent to me of the Demon House. If you go back and listen to, we did one real episode on it, but we talked about it in a couple of different ones, where the weird like oil spots would just appear on the blinds.
Yeah, and Black Monk too.
Yeah, and it seems to be a strange trope that follows that you see these weird markings, I guess, for lack of a better term. And that's something I'd like to circle back to later, but we'll keep going.
So this was like there's a fucking stain on the carpet, right? This was followed by the discovery of leaky pipes. Which could be seen as relatively normal. However, they continually had multiple plumbers come out to repair it. But what do you know, the family, like just any of us, they may have thought they were continuously being kind of taken for a ride by these plumbers. Mm-hmm. Okay? But they just kept leaking.
Kind of like the Black Monk of Pontefract. Exactly. With strange puddles that just kept appearing.
They would just appear even as the plumbers were there. They were like, there's no leak in this pipe. And they're just like, well, the water's out here, so it's supposed to be in there.
Yeah, and again, that's something that, similar to the TV, it can happen naturally, and I would almost argue that so could the stains. It depends, I guess, on like humidity levels, mold, things like that.
Yeah.
These can occur naturally. Just because this happens does not mean it's paranormal, but I can imagine not only the mixture of all of these things occurring similarly and very close in proximity, but also their actual beliefs and faith definitely played a part in that.
Maybe. Well, what kind of made it more interesting is that these like leaky pipes and stains just appearing everywhere, they were kind of paired with these reoccurring instances of large cat-like markings appearing on their paintings and their bathroom fixtures alike.
What a weird combo of things.
Paintings, yeah, it's just through paintings you got claw marks, and then your tub's all fucked up.
Yeah, that's weird. That one's rough to explain. I can't say that that's natural unless you got like an enormous rat in the house.
Yeah, and this family did have a dog. It was a large like German Shepherd named Simon, but he was like super well behaved. I don't think he liked the bath. Not many dogs do.
I'll tell you this. We have a big dog who's actually part of the German Shepherd.
We got him shot today.
We did. We got
4
him vaccinated. Times. It was nice. But he, if he were to leave claw marks around the house, I would very easily be able to identify that because I could just look at the markings and be like, huh, let me see your paw. And then we could just, figure out that it was that.
Yeah, plus dogs don't really have good poker faces. They usually act very guilty.
Yeah.
If they've done something they should be guilty for.
So I'm sure if Simon was responsible for these markings, it would be pretty easy to figure out that he was the one causing it.
Yeah. No, yeah. So these were like the first clues that the family was dealing with something not good. Very terribly wrong, maybe, in their new home. So it was slowly from there that the paranormal activity began increasing. Okay? Tools they began going missing and reappearing in odd places.
Ooh, okay.
And now, kitchen appliances were beginning to catch fire despite the fact that they're not even plugged in. Okay, so this is where it starts to get freaky.
I'm just immediately thinking like forks and knives are just bursting into flames. Paper towel rolls just up in smoke.
It's like, oh, gone. Shit. Yeah. So everything's catching on fire. Not even plugged in. By 1977, the family was experiencing their toilets flushing without anyone having flushed them. Footsteps could be heard going up and down the stairs. Dressers and kitchen drawers would open and shut on their own. And the family's radio would work without being plugged in. It was like playing music and shit, just unprompted.
That is like very, very spooky. If you ever watch YouTube videos related to anything, ghost hunting or paranormal like we do on occasion, you will know that the trope of some sort of electronic working without batteries or being plugged in is a very even if you can give me an explanation, it's a very ominous thing to witness.
And I mean, Mitch not being here, I know just a very slight little bit about electricity, and I know that transformers can hold charges for a long-ass time. That's why you got to be careful with them all the time.
Yes, exactly.
So that could be an explanation, but again, Mitch would know way better than me.
Yeah, he would be able to give us a more thorough response.
I just know that because my dad didn't want me to die working on amps.
That makes sense. You got a little bit of background.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Only a little bit, though. Mitch, we need you. But so also rocking chairs. We're rocking on their own without human or draft interaction.
Ooh, yeah,
all right?
Okay.
And the house begins to just smelling bad. Smelly house these people had. The Smurl family smelled bad.
That ended so anticlimactically, and it smelled bad.
Fucking stunk, all right?
So yeah,
sickening.
I've been around some bad smells, but usually some Febreze and an open window takes care of that.
Nope. Sickening, sour smell began permeating through the house, and it was later compared to the smell of rotting flesh, which I hear is a very unique smell. So
how can people openly compare it to that? I've never experienced the smell of rotting flesh.
If you're not like in law enforcement or like have come back from war or something, if you know what dead bodies smell like, I'm going to have some questions for you.
Yeah, unless you're like a mortician, perhaps.
Even then, isn't the whole point of them to stop the smell? Make them look good for their big day?
You got to get them to that point, so you're going to have to deal with the brunt when it comes out, You have to. You have to absorb the smell so that you can hide it. That's how, I just assume that's how it works. You have to get in the mindset, You
just need formaldehyde. That's all you need. Everything's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, their house fucking stunk. It was smelling bad all the time. But apparently it would just come and then go away. And then it would just reappear in random places and then just go away again. But it smelled like rotting flesh. But despite this, however, the Smurl family kept quiet about these occurrences and soldiered on in their everyday lives. All right, so for example, Janet was a huge proponent in an anti-drunk driving group that was formed in the local high school.
Okay.
Good for Janet.
Good for her. Yeah, that's fun.
Okay, and Jack was promoted at his job. Good for him. I couldn't find what he did, but he was promoted.
Sex worker.
He may have been, yeah.
He was promoted to head bitch. You know what I mean?
He also coached his daughter's softball team. So,
hey,
you gotta have some side projects. And the girls were excelling in school, right? So everyone's doing fine. Things are weird at home. We're not talking about it. That makes everything better, I hear. Just ignore it.
Yeah, just act like it's not happening, and it's not.
It's not. That's how everything works. Anyway, but they continue to struggle with the strange occurrences in their home. Not only this, but Jack's mother, Mary, soon suffered a heart attack in the midst of the family struggling to make ends meet. So despite his promotion, they're still struggling financially a little bit.
Yeah, so that promotion was, we just say, it was a promotion, good for him. That meant the world to that family. It was like, we can eat food now.
Well, they're still struggling. It's like, your promotion is exposure. How often you heard that?
Oh, God.
You can work for exposure.
That's the dumbest fucking excuse. How about you pay me like nothing? Even if you throw me $1, I feel better about the fact that I could say I was paid to do this. And then, you could put that on your resume.
Yeah, there you go. Paid job.
Hell, you don't have to say what you got paid, but if you got paid... it qualifies.
Well, then they do that bullshit thing. Like, you could say you got paid in exposure. It's like, fuck you.
Well, exposure doesn't pay my fucking bills.
Give me $5. That's all I had. Just $5.
Exposure's never a good thing. It's never like, you were exposed to happiness. It's like a man exposed himself on the train, or you have skin cancer from too much exposure to the sun.
It's like, you've been too exposed in fucking... the nuclear power plant, you need to be quarantined.
Yeah, exposed.
You've been exposed to COVID.
If somebody is saying the word exposed to you, it's probably followed by something that's not great.
Yeah, more than likely. Or it's just, you just need money and they're not going to give it to you. But, so Mary had a fucking heart attack. They were having financial troubles. It was then that Jack's wife, Janet, and mother, Mary, began hearing the voices of one another around the house.
And this is where it really begins. It starts picking up smoke, it's going.
Yeah. It's
smoking.
Fires are brewing. So Janet constantly heard what sounded to be her mother-in-law calling her name, beckoning her, He's like, hey,
Janet.
Hey, Janet. But when she would, inquire about this face-to-face, no such things were said by Mary. How crazy. How
There's
insane
something
is
about
that?
Mary, they're saying? Oh.
So likewise, Mary began hearing Jack and Janet loudly, verbally fighting and swearing at one another. But again, these sounds did not come from Jack and Janet. This is where the haunting goes from spooky to dark. This is very dark here, okay? This is the next part.
It does. It escalates very, very rapidly.
And you know what? I'll be honest. Full disclosure, not exposure. Full disclosure. I had the hardest fucking time coming up with a timeline for all this shit. So I just kind of put it in order of what seemed to be a natural progression.
Yeah.
If there's anything that you guys out there know that I don't know about the timeline and the order of operations and all that shit, email us, startacalls@gmail.com. We'll be happy to make corrections.
I had a similar issue upon trying to research this, is that it's very just jumbled and kind of at you.
Yeah, it's like 12 years. This happened, and then this happened.
It doesn't...
This also happened at one point. It's like,
It doesn't really benefit
nightmare.
you to try and read this, because it's very confusing, and it's not very in-depth. I'll give you my opinion on that later, because I made a promise already, but there's a reason.
You promised.
There's a reason, and we'll get to that.
All right, so we're going to get into this. Oh, we have, by the way, on the topic of emails, we have gotten some emails, both good and bad feedback. We appreciate them all, so thank you guys.
That is true. We love any feedback, even if it's negative. We don't really care. It's going to help us in the long run, so thank you.
Good. It's good. We appreciate you. Anyway, back to the Smurl family's nightmare. So Janet began claiming that shadowy figures were visiting her in the dead of night and molesting her petrified body.
Okay, let's unpack this for a minute. Let's unpack this here.
Janet the wife.
So Janet...
Midnight molesty visitors.
Yeah. So Janet is...
She can't move.
Picture yourself in a very comfortable position in your bed. Or maybe you have a really shitty bed, a bed that you find very comfortable.
You know your own bed. Picture that.
And you're in it, and you're just relaxed, and you're very comfortable, and you shoot open your eyes, and they're just laying around. You're kind of darting back and forth, and you see what appears to be a shadowy humanoid-like figure. It's got the shape of a person. You're looking at it.
Yeah, she claimed she was unable to move while the masses, made their way up the length of her legs.
Very much
under
like
her nightshirt.
Sleep paralysis. However, unlike sleep paralysis, Janet will be raped. There's really no other way to say that. That's just what it is. She will be assaulted by a ghost. Very, very... Well, I guess...
She was. And we're talking
ghost.
about it.
I will say shadow, because we don't know if it's a ghost yet.
Something, a shadowy figure, creature, something.
A shadowy figure is now molesting Janet while she sleeps, and she's stuck in this temporary paralysis. I, for one, simply just can't imagine that reaction. I don't know if you really have a reaction or if it just becomes...
She couldn't move. It's just all motionless scarring on
your
emotions.
I mean after the fact. I'm not talking about
emotional
a
scarring.
jerk. I'm talking just in her mind, in a human mind. How do you cope with that?
Well, I can't imagine she coped with it very well, because apparently she would just see her abusers floating around the house from that point on.
Yeah.
They would just be floating around the house. She saw them all the time.
Like in Harry Potter, where the ghosts just kind of hung out, they were just part of the scene.
They're living in paintings, hey.
Yeah, this was that, except these were molesting her and shit.
Yeah,
so.
It's not good. Jack was skeptical, but he changed his tune after a particularly alarming set of paranormal happenings.
I like just the idea of the husband being skeptical of that. He's just like, okay, honey. Okay.
It's like, yeah, sure. It's like, you're a dick, dude.
It's like, that's your
wife.
Whether
you believe it or not, you should deal with this accordingly.
That's your wife, dude.
Come on.
Your wife is telling you something.
You have a lot of kids with this chick, dude. You should take care of her.
Yeah, but he don't give a fuck. He don't give a fuck. He's just living. He's living his life.
Yeah.
Women don't have rights. He's a Catholic. Fuck
Yeah, he's
women.
a Roman Catholic.
They're useless. They don't mean shit. They could be slaves to the fucking priests, and, that's fine. That's all they could do there.
Yeah. Well, like I said, he changed his tune a little bit after this happened. So the night before their 13-year-old daughter's confirmation at the church, Jack and Janet were getting busy in their bedroom.
Ooh.
Okay, so a little marital action.
That's a sin.
They were alone in the room, or so they fucking thought. They thought they were alone, but maybe
I like
not.
how you said, so they fucking thought.
Yes.
Fornication.
Yeah. Sex. They were having it. But God was all right. Maybe they were trying to have a kid.
Okay.
So God would fully enjoy.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Well, in the midst of the physical passion, Janet was violently thrown off the bed onto the floor, leaving Jack in bed practically choking from the horrid stench that had suddenly appeared in that very spot.
She released anal gas upon his very face.
You think maybe she just farted? And he was so enraged.
Bear with me here.
He just threw her off the bed.
I'm thinking reverse cowgirl fart slip, and then that turned into him projectile throwing her across the room.
If you can't get into just the body as a whole, what are you doing?
Well, I'm just saying
what are you
reaction.
doing?
He's like, oh, unpure, and just tossed her.
Well, man, she must have had some crazy farts if they smelled like human flesh, because that's the smell that just appeared.
Anal fissures, dude, they're nothing to joke about.
Oh, I guess so, yeah. Nothing to joke about. Well, so yeah, he was, that happened. She was thrown off the bed. He was choking from bad smell. And the next morning, the family was getting ready for the confirmation. They reportedly were very excited by this event because they're just shills for God.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, what happened after that?
God smells terrible, man. Yeah. Oh God.
So they were super excited for this. This is when a large light fixture that was bolted to the main support beam inside of the ceiling just fell.
Yeah. Ooh, not good.
It fell and deeply cut and almost killed one of the daughters that stood below. So that's crazy. It just started rocking back and forth and just fell and almost killed a kid. So that's not cool. Jack, he was beginning to believe the paranormal things being reported by his family, which by this time included levitation from their beds at night, violent slaps from forces unknown, floating ominous dark creatures, and forces pushing them around the house, one daughter having been pushed down the fucking stairs.
Yes.
And he was just starting to believe them.
Yeah. So all of this is, this is the perfect scenario to find yourselves in if you're a ghost hunter, because this is what you're looking for. It's got all the signs. They got voices, they have physical touch, they have things that they're seeing, apparitions, physical manifestation.
Things are moving on their own.
And then even as far, almost every sense of the major 5 senses that you can have are being titillated by this spirit.
Tit, huh?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
They're being tittied by the spirit. They're seeing everything, they're feeling things, they're hearing things, they're smelling things. What aren't they encountering right now? Everything is there for the taking, okay? That's important.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you one thing that Jack hadn't experienced yet that he's about to, okay? This is what caused him to know that he believed.
Oh, know that he believed.
He knew that he believed after this.
Okay.
So Jack knew that he believed in what was happening when on one night, while he was watching a baseball game in the living room, he experienced what he referred to as a succubus entering the room and raping him. So both these parents are getting raped.
That is crazy. Here's the thing, though. What's funny to me is that this guy... Now, again, I'm in no way an expert on these things, but I am familiar with the idea of the succubus, okay?
Yeah.
And just the things like that. So here's the deal. I guess you could claim it's rape, but the deal with the succubus is it coaxes you into accepting it. It's very much like the Bill Schnoebelen vampire and werewolf thing, where they can't just force themselves on you. It's got to be consensual.
You think maybe he had just a rudimentary, like not very good. I don't know. Maybe he just didn't know what that meant. He was like, any woman that succes me is succubus. There's
I like
my
the
wife,
fact that this guy is probably someone that says that unironically.
She sexed me.
She will sex me tonight.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm not saying that this didn't happen. I'm just saying that in most cases of a succubus, it needs to be something that is either agreed to or he's at least remotely willing to let it happen.
Well, yeah. I mean, you want to hear what the succubus looked like?
Yeah, I do, because I already know, and I think the viewers would love to hear this.
So here's this. This is for you guys out there. He claimed that the entity had the body of a young woman with the head of a very elderly woman.
Boner shrinking.
And she was covered in what was described as scaly skin.
My boner,
so it's like a reptile person.
My boner is very confused, but he's not gone yet.
Well,
it's intrigued at this point, I should say. So
those are three elements that he described.
Think of it like this is the best way you're ever going to hear this. All right, this is boiled down to the fucking nuts and bolts here. It is an attractive elderly fish person. That's
is that a mermaid? Was he raped by a mermaid?
I'm assuming it had because a mermaid.
Sorry, mer person.
A murmur cannot have a. I mean, I guess just by theatrical and Disney standards, it wouldn't really have a human vagina.
It would have a fish vagina.
And
right?
Yeah, and no biologist here. I'm not certain that female fish have vaginas.
Do they have cloacas?
I think that's like isn't that like the seal or something, or like the walrus has that?
We should get off this. I know nothing of these things.
Yeah, I'm really digging myself
cloaca
in a hole here.
is just vagina and the boot hole.
Yeah, they got some sort of reproductive organ, but I'm not sure that a human could fuck it if they wanted to.
I don't think we have to be accurate on the anatomy of mermaids.
No. So this elderly, this hot elderly fish lady, did the fucking dirty with him. All right.
Yeah, right in the middle of the baseball game.
Just fucking Yankees up by 3, and she's just slurping up some fucking baby snot from this dude's fucking pipe like it's no issue.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was shortly after this traumatic experience that Jack sat down on the edge of his bed to pray one night after a particularly bad day in the house. All right.
Oh, that wasn't the bad day?
I don't know what day it was. This is just how this information was presented to me. It may have been the rape day.
He's like, that was the best day.
Imagine stewing with the trauma would make no day a good day. But that's when he was pulled to the floor by his leg and dragged across the floor. Because he was praying.
That's pretty bad.
He thinks that it's because he was praying, maybe.
Oh, yeah, because, that's reasonable.
No, yeah. Everyone abuses me when I pray.
I like how at this point he's trying to rationalize why it's happening.
It's like, no, it makes sense. It makes sense. It does. Trust me.
It's this invisible
like, dude, you were raped
monster.
by a mermaid, and now you're like being dragged around by invisible shit.
This invisible rape monster doesn't like praying, and it will let you know that that's not what it wants you to do.
Yeah.
That's just what I'm understanding from his reasoning here.
I don't know what this guy's on, but it's not anything fun.
Fish pheromones, bro.
Fish pheromones. Ew, doesn't that sound gross? Well,
a little bit.
It's like those fish oil pills where you're burping up like shrimpy shit.
Yeah, and those things are like fucking 5 pounds and just swallow it omega-3s times a day.
Eat your omega-3s. It's like, I'll just eat a fucking swordfish steak,
Like, dude, can you put it in a vape for me, bro? Can I just fucking...
just vaping fish oil.
Let me just vape that shit, dude.
So this house is fucked. And it's making sure that the Smurls are aware of that. They're getting slapped, pushed, levitated, dragged, and even molested. Their dog, Simon, he was lifted up one day, thrown against the wall.
That's crazy to me.
They threw the dog at the wall.
Because I don't know about you guys out there, but like
You
big dogs are not easy to move because they will fucking squirm.
Yeah, and you're not supposed to throw dogs.
They will fight you tooth and nail for you to put them down. And I can't imagine that Simon didn't put up a little bit of a fight.
Probably not, but who knows? Who knows? The family desperately needed a break from the endless violent paranormal activity and so decided to go camping.
Okay.
Let's go to the woods, they said.
As you do in this scenario.
Yeah, you just abandon it all for roughly a couple days. So it was while on this camping trip that a neighbor attempted calling the house, not knowing about this impromptu vacation. And what's terrifying about this is that the calls were answered.
Ooh,
All right, Grant, someone was answering the
man?
calls. Wouldn't that be cool?
Or the fish rapist.
Or just like a squatter of some sort, yeah. So yeah, the calls were answered. When the neighbor called the Smurls' home, a little girl was said to have answered. And when asked if the phone could be handed to Jack or Janet, or anyone in the Smurl family for that matter, the little girl would giddily say that they don't live here anymore, and then begin giggling.
Okay.
The neighbor called like multiple more times and got the same thing.
They don't
Same little
live
girl.
here anymore.
Yeah, and then
Well, who's paying the phone bill then, little girl?
it's not you.
It isn't you. You don't have a job. Not the way you laugh, bitch. You know,
Yeah.
give me the phone. Get the phone to an adult.
No way you'll get a worker's permit.
You're not even old enough to hold a hammer.
Well, so the neighbor even like tried calling the operator, asking to connect her to the Smurl house, family house, just to be sure she had the correct phone number. But, the little girl kept answering. So neighbors then began hearing screams coming from the Smurl's house, and it was supposedly empty at the time.
Yeah.
All right,
yeah,
so isn't
but
that
they did.
crazy?
Now, that's an important detail that we'll come back to in a bit.
Yeah. So, upon returning home and hearing all of this, the Smurl family decided that they might need help in some capacity.
This is the time.
So finally,
Make the
after
call.
silently suffering for almost 12 years, the Smurls reached out to the controversial demonology duo of Ed and Lorraine Warren in 1986.
Yes.
You have
Yeah.
anything to say about that, Grant?
No, I'll wait till...
Have anything to say?
I will wait until the very, very end.
Okay. All right, so after coming to the Smurls' home, hearing their story, and supposedly witnessing black masses materializing and experiencing several temperature drops,
Okay.
the Warrens told the family that their house was inhabited by 4 spirits. Okay? So here are the spirits. This is what they said. A harmless elderly woman. A young, possibly violent little girl. A man who suffered and died in the home, and a demon.
Well, you had to warm them in there.
The demon was using the other spirits as tools in an attempt to destroy the family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what the Warrens told this family.
Typical demon behavior.
Yeah. So, the Warrens led a group prayer session with the Smurl family, accompanied by religious music playing in the background, during which the mirrors and furniture reportedly began violently shaking.
Yeah.
Which is just straight out of one of their fucking movies.
Oh, yeah. And why the mirrors, Never mind. We'll come back.
Grant, you promised. All right. So despite their best efforts, however, the violent attacks on the family from these entities persisted. All right, so not really knowing what else they could do, the Smurl family decided to go to the press and make their story public in an attempt to find someone out there in the world that could possibly help them. And this would backfire in more ways than one.
It's funny because it's probably the smartest decision they ever made.
But
it did not work.
It just didn't work out.
No, it didn't.
So first off, the attention from the press, as well as curious onlookers, became never-ending. Okay, the Smurl family... I'm burping up fucking fried mushrooms right now, and it's crazy over here.
That's all right.
I'm going to start blowing it your way, give you a little taste.
Yeah, okay. I'm in.
Cool. Well, anyway, so yeah, they were being badgered by all these people. The Smurl family had newspaper and television reporters showing up at the door day and night. Their street was a constant traffic jam full of people hoping to get a glimpse of something paranormal from the street, or even sometimes they would go peer through their windows, hoping they'd see something. Bit invasive, I'd say. You're not supposed to do that with anyone. You know? Not cool. So, here, what else? What else we got here? One of the Smurl's neighbors claimed that he woke up one morning to a news crew parked and preparing their equipment in his driveway from Germany. So there was just like a German fucking journalism team.
Get the fucking equipment, you useless fucking idiots. You get it now.
He's Schweinhund, yeah. Pig dog.
It is the ghost, the Lego. No, that's like French or some shit. I don't know.
Oh, God.
They're probably there too, though. It's fine.
Well, this is a testament to the fucking story being all around the world. Everyone was in on this. Not in on it, but they were all into this.
Yeah.
You know, they were all eyes were on the Smurls in the 80s.
Were finally famous.
The Smurls finally had their big break. Yeah. So this type of thing became constant in the everyday lives of the Smurls, who claimed that they were still experiencing the violent haunting. It continued, is what they say.
Yes.
So that's one way it backfired. The second way that it backfired was actually through the Catholic Church itself. So representatives from the Roman Catholic Church in Scranton were genuinely perplexed by the whole situation. Several priests would go on to bless the house that year, according to the Smurls, to no avail. So it just didn't work, is what they said.
Oh, so your devout beliefs aren't helping you now, huh?
Yep, I guess not. I mean, even one priest, I forgot where he was from, but he was from the town. One priest even moved into the household for 3 days and 2 nights, during which time he experienced absolutely nothing strange or paranormal occurred. Nothing happened. So this all led to both the media and the church to suspect the whole story to be a hoax. Rightfully so, I'd say, maybe. And I can voice that, but you can't yet, Grant, you promise.
That is true.
All right. So, while this haunting was supposedly still going on, paired with the constant badgering of the press and onlookers, something had to give. Okay, so the Smurl family, that same year that they went public with their story, announced that they were exhausted by the media, basically calling them liars, and that they would, simply be moving out of their home. They're just like, we're just gonna move.
Yeah, they want.
It's like maybe you just do that and not say anything in the first place, but I don't know. Grant? Anything to say?
I'm trying to keep quiet over here. I'm really trying.
All right.
This thing's gonna fucking. I'm taking the house down.
Right.
It's coming down. It's coming down.
Can't wait till the end. All right. So, and the next year in 1987, they did just that. They moved out. Okay, so, but apparently, as fate would have it, the supernatural occurrences followed the family to their new home. Isn't that crazy? So the church had apparently sanctioned an exorcism for the family at this point, which finally supposedly got rid of the demon that had been abusing the family some 13 years. Isn't that just a spooky number?
Oh, yeah, it's just perfect.
Oh, yeah. So it was after this that the real skepticism begins, Grant. News outlets and the church, and so basically the general public, began expressing very strong suspicions of a hoax. Okay, so this was validated even more by the fact that mere months after the Smurls moved into their new home and the exorcised demon was gone, the Smurls, aided by the Warrens and Scranton journalist Robert Curran, authored a paperback book entitled The Haunted. So they wrote a book about themselves.
Indeed they did.
With the help of the Warrens and a guy that really believed them. So this was all beginning to look like a simple cash grab for all of those directly involved. Grant, wouldn't you say? No, I'm not done yet.
Possibly.
You can't express your true feelings. So, a woman named Deborah Owens then went into the Smurl's old home. She moved in, and supposedly nothing happened. There was zero paranormal anything going on in that house. And just like that, just like with many cases that the Warrens get their fingers in, the Smurl story took to the big screen. Well, sort of. The book, The Haunted, was made into a made-for-TV movie in the year 1991.
Yeah, it took like to the bronze screen. It's not quite the silver screen.
Yeah.
It's just there. It's out there.
It's the screen that everyone has.
Yeah.
Okay, so Grant, what what do you think happened? Right. Because that's the end. That only really the Smurls and properly the Warrens, who were both dead now, probably knew for sure.
Yes.
But
okay. So, here is I'm going to circle back. We'll kind of come full circle here. So, first and foremost, something that is often overlooked in the storytelling of this is that the paranormal activity did not begin until they moved into their new duplex with the parents,
the in-laws, yeah,
the in-laws. That's the word I'm
parents,
looking for.
John and Mary.
So, okay, so we have this, and I want it also to be known. It's a very minute detail that's important. The early stages of the paranormal activity happened before the two youngest daughters, the twins, were born.
Yeah, there was something I wasn't sure of because it was mentioned and then not mentioned in other stories, but apparently Janet had become pregnant after they moved in, and that's when the twins came into the picture.
Yes, so the early stages of the paranormal things, such as the television, blowing up, the strange smells, the toilets flushing, and just the weird
stains. Oh, the stains.
Yeah, the weird, things that we talked about earlier in the episode that could potentially be, natural occurrences. These all slowly started happening before the kids were born. Now, this is an important detail. I want you to tuck under your hats for a moment while we continue.
Yeah,
okay?
before half the kids were born.
Yeah.
There was two of them,
the two youngest,
and then two more showed up.
Yeah, my mistake.
No, it's all good. I just wanted to make sure.
I do not in any way like to discredit stories of hauntings because I, for one, as we know, and we've said in the show before, I am a very, very devout believer that the paranormal exists. Ghosts are very real, and things like this happen very, very regularly, and most of the time probably go unreported because they're not openly acknowledged, or they're just ignored or blatantly looked over.
Yeah, but cases like this, cases like a lot of the ones that we're talking about, have a common trend through them. And
yes.
That would be two individuals.
That would be the Warrens. So before I get into the Warrens, let's go back to the earliest stages of the hauntings. Okay, now what have we talked about before that may or may not lead to potential paranormal activity? When we look at things that stories like this revolve around, it typically revolves around a very high emotional level. We've talked about this in the past. Things like abandoned hospitals, cemeteries, even cruise ships, the Queen Mary being a big one.
Yeah.
These things that often have, a haunting theme throughout, they're surrounded by energy, whether it be neutral energy or negative energy. It's typically not very positive.
Yeah.
So, you may be asking, what the fuck am I talking about here? Well, let's analyze this as rational people.
Did you say animalize?
Analyze.
Oh, wow.
So, they lose their house. The Smurl family loses their house in a devastating flood.
They've been flooded.
They've been absolutely flooded. They're
Family's
done.
Flooded.
They have nowhere else to go. It's often not talked about, and I'm not even sure if it's true, but I think it's safe to assume that a lot of personal items were probably lost because of this.
Yeah, most likely.
That's just a guess. I could be incorrect on that.
I didn't see many pictures of the family before they moved into this house.
No. There's really not many. So we have this. This is a very devastating situation to find yourself in. Now, they move in with the in-laws, with Jack's parents. This is another thing. It's not particularly negative. Now, they did say that, they didn't have any issues with it and that they enjoyed this occurrence. Fine. Be that as it may, we'll take their word for it. But there is no denying that is it is truly an emotional thing to deal with. To be grown adults with children moving in with your in-laws. It's not something that's simply done. Two things are holding these people back emotionally right now. They just lost their house and they moved in with their family. Jack is back with his parents. On top of that, bam, he knocks up his wife. They're pregnant and it's twins.
Financially struggling, heart attack, all these things.
This is a trifecta of emotional things. And this is not even to go into account with the health issues that Jack had dealt with, panic attacks, heart problems, things like that. They lead to very, just negative energy, even if it's on a subconscious level.
Yeah, it's not good.
These lead to things that are not very positive. Rightfully so. It's not a great situation to be in. So, am I denying that there's been any haunting or things that could be represented as paranormal? I'm not denying that. I think that all the signs are there. It's hard to denounce that all of this is fabricated. I'll come back to this in a moment. But I think it's safe to assume that they're at least in the right position to find themselves being haunted. Okay?
Oh, yeah, it's a perfect storm, much like with their house.
Yeah. Now, in come Ed and Lorraine Warren, the fucking big motherfuckers from Connecticut, right?
And they're just looking for income.
They are looking for income. Now, the biggest thing to keep in mind is that when the Warrens are involved here, okay? Now, keep in mind, before the Warrens get involved, nobody outside of the Smurl home knows or has heard about what's occurring.
Nope, they've been completely shutting up about it.
Yeah, nobody has said a thing. It's been completely silent until the Warrens show up. And now this is when things start to kind of leak. Stories start to spread. Then this is when the neighbors start to get involved and they start hearing things as well. But, again, rational adult thought here. Let's take a look at the timeline. What happened not too long before these events and before the Warrens got involved? Anybody have a guess?
Was it rape?
It was the Amityville case.
Oh.
The international blockbuster news story of really, truly the first and probably most famous haunting scenario that's ever occurred in the United States. I'm not saying that it's, the best haunting story or the most widely known, but as far as media coverage goes, at this time, that was the top dog.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody had heard. It was
a big one.
Everybody had heard something about it, or rumors were flying.
Before that, it was like the Bell Witch.
Yeah, and that was like a folk tale.
Yeah. Who knows?
So we have to understand that the Warrens are coming off the biggest case that they've ever had and ever will have. And they're also, just walking away from the media themselves, being surrounded by the Amityville case. And around this time is when the books were published. The story was sold. They made plenty of money off of this tale that they were with. We talked about the Amityville haunting before. And I find it to be a very similar situation where I don't think that it's fair to say it's a hoax, but I think it's fair to say that the Warrens turned it into a hoax. Just like with the Smurls, they come in. Ed Warren, who, as we've talked about before, had no ability other than just so happening.
He had a crucifix around his neck.
He married a woman who was a medium who, I believe that can exist, some clairvoyance, things like that.
He was the only one that, didn't treat her like a fucking freak.
Yep.
Because he saw the dollar bills.
He did. And Ed Warren was the one that said, hey, look, we got 4 spirits here. One of them's a demon. We got to figure this out. Knowing full well that the family was extremely religious and believed very similar things to what Ed believed. They get involved. Nothing really happens. Ed and Lorraine kind of wash their hands of the situation.
Yeah, they tried to pray with music playing, and then they were like, oh, it didn't work.
Yeah, they try to kind of just act like it's not occurring. And then, bim, bam, boom, it's done. And then the one bit of information that is out there that, again, is extremely overlooked is that in Scranton, Pennsylvania, the Archdiocese, so the Roman Catholic Archdiocese in Scranton, they sent out their guy, the bishop. All right?
That's what I was trying to think of earlier, is the diocese.
Yeah, the big kahuna, the bishop, the man of the area.
Tuna.
And
every time we say Scranton, I'm just like, yeah,
a little bit. You see the sign?
Yeah.
But so he gets involved as well, right? And he actually meets with Ed and Lorraine Warren. He discusses things with them. He's there. He's trying to witness these things for himself. And he openly says that through conversation with Ed, supposedly, he called Ed out for being a liar and for antagonizing these people who were clearly suffering from something that possibly was out of this world and making it worse for the sake of his own entertainment value. And according to the bishop, Ed never denied these claims. Ed never even tried to defend himself. Ed simply just wrote it off, laughed it off, and said, well, maybe you're right.
Who's going to believe you, holy man?
So, I mean, again, we have to take into account, these are just personal things. And for those of you that listen to our show, you know that we're not big Warren fans.
They suck. But
they definitely have some great stories, but they're definitely really not good people. And they really are shitty fucking paranormal investigators.
Did I rewatch the Conjuring recently? Mm-hmm. Where he's like singing Elvis to the kids in the Enfield poltergeist?
Yeah.
I just like remember doing research for our episode where he was like, the Warrens showed up and they were denied at the door.
Yep.
It was like, God damn it.
Yeah. So
but they somehow just own the rights to the story. God damn it.
Ed and Lorraine Warren are... you know what? I'm going to actually rephrase this. Ed Warren is nothing more than a con man who really fell ass backwards into a great situation and was able to exploit that for extreme financial gain.
Yeah.
And now infamy, because if you go on the internet, it's very difficult. It's not as divided as you think it would be. Most people typically are very big fans of the Warrens, and they believe them.
Yeah. And it's not like we don't believe Lorraine Warren. I mean, like, all the cases that they worked on, there was definitely something happening.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But, like, and Lorraine could probably sense it to some degree. I could believe that she has some sort of ability.
Oh,
you know, like some people are in tune with that kind of thing.
I definitely
But, like, Ed
that.
took advantage of the real situations, therefore just, like, diluting it into something that people could look at and be like, no, that's fake.
Yes.
It's definitely fake.
Yes.
So he, like, delegitimizes anything that he touches, and he's using everyone around him to make money. And he's dead now.
Yeah.
He's
Thank God.
dead.
Thank God. And honestly, if anything that he believes is correct, he is burning in hell right now for doing everything that he did.
No, he wore a crucifix all his life. He should be fine.
But so the truth of this case is this. I don't think it's fair to write it off as a hoax. I really, truly, utterly believe that the Smurl family were encountering some very weird fucking things that they couldn't explain.
Yeah, and maybe they wanted to make a little money off of their experience because they dealt with, it sounds like, some shit for well over a decade. So it's like, we should get something out of this, right?
And this is where
And Ed's like, yes, you should.
This is where my opinion kind of falls into line here. I think that they really did have these experiences. You know, I've said that a couple times. I truly believe that. However, I think that once Ed Warren got involved, they were able to kind of see the forest through the trees. And they saw that if they were able to ramp up some of their stories and make it a little bit more over the top, then they could possibly be the next Amityville. And I think that's what they went for, and it never truly took off the way they wanted it to.
Yeah. Dude, this story compared to, like, Amityville or, like, the Enfield Poltergeist, they missed the mark, dude.
Oh, they did.
Like, they couldn't hit fucking water if they fell out of a boat with this story.
The Enfield...
Like, a name like Smurl? Come on.
No, yeah.
Come on. Sounds like Smurfs.
The Enfield Poltergeist is actually... probably one of two, the other being the Black Monk of Pontefract. Well, I guess we did talk about the Sally House a little bit also.
Did we?
Yeah, that was real early on. We talked about it a little bit.
We should have something dedicated to that. We should revisit that.
I think we should, because that's really fucking
We're getting into
interesting.
spooky season. We might need to do that.
But I would say those three are probably the only three stories of hauntings in the world that I wholeheartedly believe. And even if parts of it are exaggerated, I truly believe that they probably did happen exactly the way they were told.
Maybe, yeah. And, I mean, with the Enfield poltergeist, like Guy Lyon Playfair being a part of that, he was such a wholesome character, honestly.
Yeah, and then he dedicated his life to that.
Like,
that was his
he
life.
lived with that family for years. He was like, I lost my daughter. I think she's trying to talk to me. I just kind of want to prove that I'm not insane in thinking that. Like, it's like, oh, it's so sweet.
Yeah.
He should get the movie and the money.
And
his daughter back.
The Smurls, again, final thoughts. I don't deny their experience. I think that Ed Warren saw this as a potential Amityville Part 2. It was right around the same time, a good story. A little bit more intense as far as the haunting goes.
I am glad that the molestation stopped at the parents.
Yeah, that is nice. It keeps it real.
Isn't that just a blessing in all this?
It keeps it a little bit light for me, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the Smurl hauntings here, okay?
All right. Well, yeah. Smurls.
The Smurls.
The Smurl family haunting the Smurls.
Now, with all of that being said, that is effectively our episode for this week.
On the Smurls. Yeah.
How about that?
How about that? So, yeah, we're getting into spooky season. We're going to be delivering a lot more spooky things.
Indeed, we are.
In the coming weeks.
I know we're about 2 weeks early as far as the typical Halloween schedule starts for us, but
fuck it. I mean, what is it? What's the Halloween store that comes up?
Spirit Halloween.
Spirit Halloween. They're everywhere right now.
Yeah, they are. They're back.
They're early. We're not.
Back with a fucking vengeance. But we will be back next week. Patrons, do not fret. The Patreon episode will be published a 1 week from today, so next Friday it will come out.
As opposed to next Thursday, there is an appointment. We are busy. We can't do it.
It will probably come out roughly about an hour or so after the weekly episode is published. I'm just assuming.
Oh, you think we're going to do that one second?
Typically, yeah. I think that we'll see how it goes. We'll play it by ear. We'll see what happens.
No, we don't even know what we're talking about next week. But we'll figure it out.
It will be out next Friday. Don't worry. So for the patrons out there, you'll get a double header next week. But we'll be back with a brand new episode. And honestly, it's that time of year, so it's probably going to stick to something in the spooky region.
It's going to be so scary for you.
Yes, it will be.
Yeah.
So with that being said, enjoy and have a great week.
You're going to be afraid to sleep at night.
Yeah, you probably will be.
Alone or with others. That's how scared you'll be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, you can follow us on all the shit. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. We also are on all the streaming things you're listening right now. You know that. I also realized that I sometimes forget to say the email. And though I said it earlier in this episode, I'm going to say it again, startacult@gmail.com. And we're on YouTube, and then I think I already said that, but there's a Patreon link below.
Yes. Have fun.
So,
I love you all.
Yeah. Oh my God, I almost forgot to say bananas.